Good evening again. My name is Barry Rubin, and I'm on the board of directors for the Treasure Island and Madeira Beach Chamber of Commerce. And welcome to the Madeira Beach Treasure Island Chamber of Commerce Candidate Forum. So we're going to have a good evening tonight. I just wanted to introduce you to a few of the players before we get started. And I want to thank you all for braving the elements for coming out here. I sound like I'm speaking very, very loud. So I want to appreciate you braving the elements to come out tonight. I know it's a challenge in the rain. Our timer tonight will be Laurie Tyner, and there she is in the purple, and she'll be running our timing tonight. Missy Hahn is the president of the Treasure Island Madeira Beach Chamber of Commerce. She is here as well, and she'll be collecting your questions. On the back table, there are index cards as such, for those of you who have never seen an index card before, and pens as such, and you'll be able to fill out your questions, and we'll get to those that are appropriate for our candidates. Just a few of the ground rules for our four candidates and for our audience. If we only have an hour together, so to make the most of our time, if you would withhold any applause and appreciation until the very end, we can thank everybody at once. And we're going to be very civil. This is a very small town. We all need to get along all through our election process and even after. And we are in a very fortuitous position to have four candidates who any other community in the world would be lucky to have. And we're thankful that we have so many, and we should be. So let me introduce you to those folks now, and then we'll get started with some questions. So from District 3, we have Doug Andrews and Roger Pryor. And then we have our incumbent at District 4, John Douthard, and Steve Kochik. So District 4 names are more difficult to pronounce than the District 3 candidates, but I'm going to do my best, and no offense, gentlemen, should I mess those up in any which way. So we have some questions from the audience, and we'll expect some more as the night goes through. And we have some questions that were from our chamber executives and our chamber board, and some of our chamber members. So we'll be mixing and matching. So how the process will work is we'll start with Mr. Andrews down at the end there and come towards me, and then we'll go back from Mr. Kochek back. So how it'll work, just to make it very, very clear, is Mr. Andrews will have the first question, Mr. Pryor will have the second, Mr. Douthard will have the third, Kochek fourth, and then you'll have the fifth, Mr. Kochek. Does that make sense? So we're going to come back and forth and back and forth. So the second question you will answer first, and we'll go back and forth just for fairness' sake. There'll be 2 minutes open time to introduce yourself and tell us why you should be our commissioner, and then there'll be 1 minute answers for the questions, and then a 3-minute close as per requested by the candidates. So are we set? So Mr. Andrews, the first is from the audience, and that is, before we do that, let's start. I almost made my first mistake without just starting. Boy, we're gonna have a tough night tonight. So let's start with our open. We'll start with Mr. Andrews, and if you would take 2 minutes, and if Laurie's ready, we will take 2 minutes, and you can tell us all about why you should be our next commissioner.
All right. Well, thank you, guys. Folks, I'm not running against Roger. I'm running on my own merits, and I'm running against the abysmal track record and the agenda politics of the majority of this current commission. By Mr. Douthard's own admission in the last forum, his accomplishments over the last 2 years are a mission statement, whoopee, a civility clause, which is excellent because this has certainly eased the divide in the city, improved employee health plan, which is a complete joke. All the employees hate it. And my favorite, the entire commission has completed ethics training. I mean, now, come on, that's got to be a little funny, right? Look, I think he was being a little modest. I have here an email from Elaine Poe to Mr. Douthard on March 16th, 2017. It was 2 days after he was elected. Here are his other accomplishments. Get rid of the city manager and city clerk. Love them or hate them, they were both voted out by a 3-2 margin, with the deciding vote coming from a commissioner who the state of Florida found guilty of sexually harassing him and others. Number 2, get rid of the city attorney. We ran out our longtime city attorney whose firm specializes in beach municipalities and replaced him with a guy that works out of his car. Number 3, make Vince Tenaglia city manager. How did that work out? Vince split for St. Pete Beach, and we got Walter. Number 4, passed up $95,000 in grant money for a pump-out boat we desperately needed. Number 5, screw with the employee health plan. Check. Number 6, get rid of the rec director. Yay, that hits a little home there. Number 7, several other employees need to be removed. Check, and it was done illegally. And number 8, this is a great one. Do a thorough investigation of what's going on at our Marine and Public Works. We were told the only reason that audit occurred was because that our auditor only talked to Walter Walter Pierce, and the marina needed to be investigated. Big problem. Walter didn't work for the city on March 16th, 2017. He didn't start until a few months later. Uh-oh, somebody's not being transparent. It was a plan of this commission from the onset to do this marina witch hunt and subsequently get rid of Dave Marsicano. Mr. Douthert, my congrats to you for completing your entire list. As a registered voter, sir, did Mayor Poe give you a hit list for this term so that we know what the agenda is for the next 2 years? Folks, pure definition of agenda politics. Thank you.
Well, as I look around and I see all of you sitting here, you may think, and the people watching, maybe at home or whatever, I hope some of them are watching and I hope some of them are voters, but I hope they're watching, and you may think that, well, the real challenge sits right up here. These four guys, we're really challenged. But it's not really our challenge, it's your challenge. You're the voters. It's up to you to pick the best people. It's for us to sit here and run, and I hate to say there's four guys, you know, maybe there should be a little difference in some ladies up here, but whatever it is, what it is. But I've lived here for 20 years, my wife and I, Diane, and we moved in here, and it was a nice little town. We thought it was, well, we came from Atlanta. It was pure panic in Atlanta with traffic. If you've ever been through Atlanta, you know what we're talking about. We came here, we settled down, and we wanted to come and retire and relax. Sometimes we don't get to do that, and sometimes we get kind of busy and we get our nose in things like I did last year with a budget. I became a budget committee person, and the fine people who were already on it, since I was the new guy, they elected me as the chairman. So I got to learn a lot about Madeira Beach finances, okay? And as I go through this, I want to bring my expertise, which was business management. I've been through a lot of corporate bills. I've gone through finances, legal terms, legal briefs. I've done a lot of things in the world, and I'd like to bring some of that expertise here to Madeira Beach. I'm here just because I love Madeira Beach, and I hope you do too. So let's try to get together, work this thing out. It's up to you. You're the ones making the decision tonight, not us.
Thank you. Mr. Douthert.
Good evening. I'm John Douthert, and I'm running for Commissioner of District 4 once again. I feel the top two issues, I thought we were supposed to be kind of addressing this on things that we're looking forward to do. Mr. Andrews wanted to say what he never said what he was doing. He just kind of said what everybody else is not doing. So I think the top two issues facing Madeira Beach are the infrastructure and the growth of the city. I believe that the growth should be controlled, and I believe that the infrastructure is breaking down, and with all the new development, it needs some serious work, and we really need to look in that direction. I want to continue to emphasize the community awareness. The controlled growth in Madeira Beach is an imperative to our success as a small city in the Barrier Islands. If we don't fix all these things that are broken, or if we overbuild, we're not going to be here very long. We listen to the people who talk about the sea levels rising and, all the negatives. But I think we can fix these things. I think we need to look at what the city can do to go more green. I think we need to look at, how do we control the growth of the city that we don't become another Clearwater Beach. I used to love Clearwater Beach. I used to live on Clearwater Beach. And it has gotten so bad that I won't even go to Clearwater Beach anymore because it takes you so long to get from one end to the other. It's sad that we have all the beauty here and everybody wants to come see it. And this is our piece of the world. And everybody wants to take a look at it. And we need to make sure we do the right thing so that it stays here for a long time for both us and our kids and our grandkids. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kochik.
Hi, I'm Steve Kochik. I'm running for Commissioner in District 4. I had been previously on the board from 2007 to 2011. So I don't need training when I get on the board when you elect me. I was around when we had a vision for the city, when people got together and they said, what do we want the city to be? Because it was coming to that time. The original buildings that were here and the original layouts and all were getting old, and it was time for redevelopment. And what was suggested was the best way to do it was get together. Get a professional, a city planner, let him give you some ideas, and let the people come. Let the people come and say what they want their city to be like, to have some input into the city. And that's what the people did. People came and filled the gymnasium over at the Madeira Beach Elementary School. Hundreds of people came for meetings, and they spoke out. Many of the people that are here, were at the meetings with them. I saw them there. And what came of it was a vision of what we wanted for Madeira Beach. The priority was, one, protect the residential neighborhoods. And that will always be a priority in my book. The second thing was we have a few areas that can be redeveloped. Johns Pass and the north end of the city here. At one time we had a Holiday Inn. Everybody loved it with the tiki bar and the music. And what happened? They said, we would like to build a new hotel here, but we need more hotel rooms. Well, at the time, the board that was there wasn't so keen on giving them any more rooms because it would have taken a lot of work going up to the Tallahassee and all. What happened is we got the Serena instead. Where we got 40 condos. A lot of people in the city made a lot of money selling the condos, but the people lost. We lost that beautiful spot on the ocean, on the Gulf. Like I said.
Thank you. Mr. Kochek, hold the mic. You're going to start on our first question, and we're going to go back in that direction. And the first question, since we've alluded to, almost everyone to a man has alluded to pressing need for infrastructure, let's ask, what do you see as the most pressing need for infrastructure or capital project for the city?
Our roads and underground the utilities on Gulf Boulevard. That project was started a couple of years ago. It was all laid out. 2 years ago, everything stopped. The grant stopped. The road work stopped. We've been having meetings here the last couple of nights for Crystal Island. That was part of the plan to have done. Now we're going to have a resurfacing and go. But it's going to cost $3 million more than it would have because it stopped. It was more important to fire the city manager, get rid of the finance department, get rid of the lawyer. It was more important to do that than to take care of the residents of Madeira Beach. That it was more important to change the charter. There were a lot more things that became more important than taking care of the citizens of Madeira Beach. Let's go back to taking care of the citizens of Madeira Beach. That charter was 50 years old. It served us well. We didn't have to waste our time on that. Thank you.
Mr. Douthert, same question. What is the most pressing need for infrastructure or capital project in the city?
I think the two most important things are the roads, and the undergrounding is important. Contrary to what Mr. Kochak said, the Duke pulled out of here because when the hurricanes came, they put their people in North Carolina and up in the Panhandle. You know, it is being started again, but as was put up at the meeting last night, these things stopped, not because the city didn't want to. It's because of priorities by Duke and where they needed the people. So that's what it is. And the roads and the water storage and all that, and as we grow, we have the proper storage and potable water. All those things are very important to our future. You know, I see days right now that the water pressure that I get in my home is not as good as it was 5 years ago. You know, is it because of lack of water, new building, or whatever?
Mr. Pryor, same question. If you need me to repeat it, I'm happy to do so. It's, what do you see as the most pressing need for infrastructure or capital projects in the city?
Well, I've walked around the streets of Madeira Beach for the first time. I've ridden by them, but I've never just walked every street around here. So if you saw me with my little hat, you'll recognize me, and that was me in the little, almost a cowboy straw hat. But as I walked, Crystal Drive was by far the worst road in the city. It's cracked. The underbase is falling out. The gutters are bad. The drains are bad. All over this town, though, the real issue is, and I know this because in my career before this, I was an engineering and construction manager for Public Works. I used to work for Verizon, and I handled all of Verizon in South Pinellas County for Public Works operations. So the real deal here is basically some of the toppings on the roads are really gone and just could be resurfaced, some of them. Some of them are too high. Some of the ground underneath them is muck instead of sand because a lot of it was built up over the years.
And gentlemen, I know a minute is not a lot of time. We will not cut you off if you mid-sentence, so if you feel free to finish your sentences. And Mr. Andrews, the same question. What do you see as the most pressing need for infrastructure or capital projects in the city?
Well, you know, I don't want to just reiterate what everybody else has said. I mean, obviously, you've seen my campaign material. Roads, you know, we talked about Crystal Island and a lot of other areas in the city that need some road improvement. The undergrounding of utilities, you know, as a business owner and as a resident, there's no reason for us to be out of power for 2 weeks because of a hurricane. If our utilities are underground, we're great. But the real thing that, you know, is something that's not so sexy that we don't talk about a lot are the stormwater drains. We have some real issues. There's 6 projects that the former Public Works Director had on the table that need to get done. They need to get done. These stormwater drains will start breaking down, materially breaking down, that it's going to end up costing us gazillions of dollars to fix. We need to get our own equipment. I believe it's called a jetter pump or something along the line there. We need to get our own so we don't have to actually outsource it. We've got people that can do that job here within the city, but my God, we live on a barrier island. Those stormwater drains get clogged up. Folks, we're going to be underwater, period, end of story. So.
Good timing. So again, again, almost to a man, we've alluded to natural disasters such as a hurricane. So that brings us to our second question, which, what actions, and this is for you starting, Mr. Andrews, and we're going to come back this way again, what actions specifically would you take to address the issues associated with recovery after a hurricane or a natural disaster?
Okay, well, I mean, in a word, hurricanes suck. I mean, but it's a part of business here. It's a way of everyday life that we have to be aware of. We've been very fortunate. I mean, let's be realistic. Even Irma, you know, the original spaghetti models had it coming looking right at us. While I was with the city, I was part of the emergency response team that we had put together here as a director. I believe our city's about as ready as you can be. You know, you look at the devastation that was caused up in the Panhandle. You can't prepare for that, okay? So, I mean, you know, and I don't think the idea is, hey, you know, what the old commissions used to do, let's save money for, you know, if the big one hits, and we get $10 million in the bank, and we don't spend it on roads and things like that. That's where we're at right now, because everybody saved all this money. Don't get me wrong, I love saving money, but let's be realistic. $10 million, if we really get hit with a hurricane, that's going to pay for Harbor Drive for like 3 houses to get them repaired. So, you know, I mean, I think our plan is in place. I believe that, you know, it's been worked out, you know, with our fire and rescue squads and with all the directors in the city. They know what to do. We've got good people and good employees here that can take care of that. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Pryor, same question.
Back in September of 17, when we had the hurricane kind of come through here, a lot of us were afraid of it. I know I was. I went to Largo and hoped it didn't come that far. So the real issue I had was, while I'm sitting out there, I didn't know what was going on here. So we really need to focus on having our first response teams and all available, and some method such as a website or whatever, so that we can, from a distance, dial in and find out what is going on here. So we need to kind of upgrade information to the residents, okay? So we know what's going on when we can come back. But we also make sure the first responders and everybody, and we're talking fire and police and all, are here to make sure that nothing happens to our things while we're away.
I think both of the gentlemen made very good points, but I think the most important thing is if the city or the state or the county says, get out of town, you need to get out of town. We have so many residents that this last one just would not leave. Then that puts our first responders in danger. It puts our police and our fire in danger because they've got to still take the time to protect these people that would not listen to the advice of the people who know. So I think the most important thing is, you know, we can always come back. Anything can be rebuilt, you know, but we can't rebuild a life. So I think that is the most important thing for everybody to if they tell you to leave, to leave.
Mr. Kochek?
There's emergency preparedness plans in shape, you know, in place right now that dictate how things are going to operate and all. Of course, it's best to leave. People who don't want to leave have to realize they are not going to get help after a certain period of time. If those wind speeds get up there, they're not allowed to they're not going to be able to respond. Those vehicles are not going to be able to get on the road. The other thing is, which is very important, I feel, is that the storm surge is the one that's really threatening. That's what I worry about a lot more than the wind, is the storm surge, if there is one, because that's just going to wipe everything out. Those pictures you see of northern Florida and that you saw after Katrina, that was storm surge. That wasn't the wind that flattens everything like that. And that storm surge, you don't want your emergency people here. They're going to come back afterwards. If you choose to stay, that's a choice that you make, but don't expect anybody to come and help you, because it's impossible to happen. And it's not fair to sacrifice or to put at risk our emergency personnel.
Mr. Kochek, we're going to stay with you on the questioning and go back across the table. And staying on that same theme, what would the long-term solution be to beach erosion and to mitigate storm surge?
Nothing's going to stop storm surge. Let's just be realistic about this. If the hurricane is that bad and it goes a certain way, you're not stopping Mother Nature. So let's not even go there. As far as, what was the other part? Storm surge and what?
To mitigate storm surge and to stop beach erosion.
We're very fortunate. We put the groins in years ago, years and years ago. They were smart enough to put the groins in. Those groins, we have never gotten one ounce of sand had to be dredged out of and put onto our beaches. They dredge the sand out, they put it on the beaches up north. Storms come, push all that sand down, our groins grab them, and keep our beaches nice all the time. What we should be going to the state and saying, look, we've saved you millions over the years. Why don't you come in and let's really beautify these groins now? They're starting to get a little shabby. Let's get the money in here. They worked here. We know that they worked here. So let's replace them with something nice. Thank you.
Mr. Dalthert, same question.
Yes, I think the dunes are very, very important to stopping the surge from the water coming in. Other counties have looked at us and said, you know, we need to do that. You look down at Anna Maria or Holmes or any of those beaches down there, they've never done the dunes like we have. That is the important thing. And like Mr. Kochak said, you know, it's the storm surge that's going to be the rough part. That's what killed a lot of people and a lot of businesses and homes destroyed up in the Panhandle. So I think that's what we need to look at and keep those growing and flourishing in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Pryor?
Well, these two gentlemen covered the beach pretty well, but back when I had a little flood at my house several years ago, I found things like telephone poles, pieces of dock, things floating around the water and coming up in my backyard. So if you really have a surge and all, the water's very bad, but also as people are not aware, we need an education program telling people don't leave your things laying around in the backyard if you're on the water, because it's going to float and knock your house down and then go to the neighbor. As well, when you do things with your roof, make sure that you don't have things hanging on your house or whatever. It's an education program. I don't like things coming from 3 houses away and knocking out my window, when all you could have done was put that down or hide it somewhere or bury it or do something. So let's do an education program first as well as take care of the beaches.
Am I ready? Okay, cool.
Sir.
Well, I agree completely with Steve. You're not going to stop Mother Nature as far as storm surges. I mean, we can only prepare the best and secure your stuff and hope for the best. As far as the beach erosion, you know, I walk the beach a lot, and I go down towards Reddington, and you can see the difference that these groins make. And I think honestly, we got to get with the state and start talking about, you know, whether we increase the length of them or we put in more. I think it's just, you know, the only way we're going to save our beaches is that way. And they've worked great. They've worked great for how many years, Steve? I mean, 40, 50 years that they've had them in there. It's terrific. So, yeah, I mean, there's not really much that I can say that these guys didn't already say, but yeah, I think that's probably, we really need to start looking at repairing and getting those groins back in play. All right, thanks.
Very good. Mr. Andrews, we're going to stay with you for the next question, and that is, we're going to stay on the beach, actually. And the question is about EPIC, which is the Environmental Preservation Initiative for our communities. And this focuses on reduction of non-biodegradable waste like plastic straws. Some cities have initiated a no plastic straw ban, things like that. So what are your opinions on a program like EPIC that would ban plastic straws from the beach and other non-biodegradable waste?
Well, as a guy that sells a lot of big gulps, I certainly don't want to give up straws, but I'm kidding. You know, look, if it's, and I know that believe Treasure Island's actually already started this, and the chamber has really jumped on this. And, you know, look, I'm all game for it. I think that it's something that we can do, and we have to initiate here. You know, look, I'll claim, you know, I grew up on the Jersey Shore, but I was naive about plastic bags and straws and turtles and what they can do to each other, and how the plastic bag looks like a big jellyfish. And, I mean, all this stuff, you know, you learn and you go and you evolve. And I think, obviously, this is the next step. I think that's something that we have to really look at seriously. And I know our chamber does a great job on it, so might as well let them spearhead it.
We were fishing for compliments. Mr. Pryor?
As you can look up here, we got 4 plastic bottles with little bitty caps. So, boy, what a tough one, huh? A lot of it comes back to education, and a lot of it comes back to reality, when as much as we think we're reclaiming and we're putting our little plastics in our little blue containers out on the road, the reality is China no longer accepts all of our plastic junk. It's got nowhere to go, folks. We need to have some way that we can really limit it, because right now it's all getting burned in the incinerator because nobody will take it. So, yes, it's a real issue. It's a real problem. It's a problem for us as well as our environment. So, yes, we can have education all we want, but we really got to do something. But be real. We're not really doing anything with it except sitting it on the side of the road. And then, how many times have you seen the wind take it down the road? So we need to start at home. Let's figure out a better way to do it, a bigger can or a lid or whatever it is you can do.
Thank you. Mr. Dothert?
Yes. Going out to restaurants here, a lot of times they come up to you and say, do you want a straw or not? You know, and they're using the plastic straws still. There's paper straws out there. There's other things they can do. You know, like Mr. Pryor said, recycling. We've had the recycling people in here many times, and they said basically less than 10% of what they collect actually gets recycled anymore. The rest goes to the dump or to the fire pits, as they said. I don't know how we correct this. They said they're looking all over the world to find other people that might be interested in buying our recyclable materials, but it's going to get tougher and tougher, and we need to do something, or it's going to kill all of our sea life, and we've seen it all over. It's kind of funny, when I lived out in El Paso, Texas, we used to call that, we used to think that plastic bags grew because you look at all the barbed wire fence around the fort, and they were all stuck with with plastic bags that blew there from the post. It was pretty scary.
Mr. Kochek?
I can remember when I was on the board, we were having a program to stop selling beer in bottles because of the fear of the glass breaking on the beach, and going to the stores and trying to get them to put up just stickers, please don't buy glass and bring it on the beach. Whenever we're dealing with the ecology and trying to make a better world for us, it always comes down to the individual. I was on the board when we started our recycling program. And one of the things that was talked about is whether or not the condo should be included. I said, why not? Do they contribute to it? Do they have plastics? Do they have recycling? Of course they should be part of it, and it should be mandatory. And that's how the program got started. And what's going to be done with it, that's for choices bigger than decisions that I can make. You know, maybe that, like they say, the things that wrap around the poles that we need for the boardwalk. Things like that. Anything that can be, there will be, as long as there's money can be made, they'll find a way.
Very good. Mr. Kochek, hold on to that microphone because you're going to get the next question. And that is...
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
No. There are those in the community that say, I'd say more than a few, that we have a traffic problem. Well, what are your thoughts on that, and what would you do to alleviate those concerns or change the situation as best you could?
Traffic problem. I come from New York, where rush hour is about 4 hours long. Down here, it's about 45 minutes. At certain times of the day, there is traffic. There's no doubt about it. People have to get to work in the morning. We have limited access. It seems a lot of people come from Treasure Island to go over 150th so they can head up to North County. So we do have those periods of time where there is traffic. That, along with the fundamental school, which no longer has school buses, is another issue and all. One thing I would say, especially for us people retired, please don't make appointments during rush hour. I've heard a lot of people complain, I have to get to a doctor's appointment at 8:30. Why did you make it at 8:30? You're home all day and you have nothing to do, really. Why don't you make it, and let the people go to work, and then you can take your time and do it. You know, people may think it's funny, but I'm one of those people, and I don't want to make something inconvenient for myself. If I wait till 9 o'clock or 9:30, that road is empty. Traffic's...
And again, feel free to finish your sentence. We're not going to cut you off mid-sentence. Mr. Delthorpe, go ahead.
All the traffic, and I just see it getting worse as the growth continues. We can't stop growth. That's going to happen. How do we fix it? That's a big question. It really is. I've heard people talk about, the timing on the bridge coming off of Tom Stewart, going over to the mainlands. And they want to talk to them about changing that. That's going to be very tough to do because that's all controlled by Homeland Security now. There's school and no buses. I don't know if we can get that changed or not with the school up there. That would help a lot because in the morning, Tom Stewart, Madeira Way, people come across the bridge, make a U-turn to get back to the school because it gets backed up so far. And when the school gets in and comes out, in the afternoon, it just gets backed up. And I do not know a good solution at this point. The timing in the red lights. I mean, this isn't my area of expertise at all, so I don't have a good answer.
Mr. Pryor?
Well, back when I was in Australia, I could drive 300 miles and not see anything but a couple of red roos. But we don't live in Australia out in the outback. We live here. I don't like cars on the road. I don't mind if we drive them, but we got to get there. We have to drive. We can't walk. And there's so many cars out here that it's only going to get worse as more and more developments. One of the few things I think we could do was time our red lights so that when the bridge opens, the green lights come on over here at 150th, at Madeira Way, and Gulf Boulevard. Maybe run those traffic through there right after the bridge opens. Also at the school, perhaps you could time those lights. It is a state highway, so you got to work with the state. But the bridge is National Security Bridge, and boy, that's difficult. That takes many, many years. So perhaps the best way to do is maybe correct those lights, and let's make sure that we don't overbuild our city too bad. It's going to look like Clearwater's roundabout. You know what a roundabout is? I learned about them in Australia too. They got them everywhere. But it only takes so many cars.
Mr. Andrews, same question, please.
Thank you. Well, I am from Jersey, and I also spent most of my adult life in the Washington, D.C. area. So, yeah, this isn't really much traffic as far as I'm concerned, but it is a problem here, and I think it's something that we needed to address. Right. I mean, the stuff with the bridge, honestly, they're probably, I don't know that much about it, but I know in New Jersey that we have bridges that go up and down in the summer quite a bit. It's kind of like a Jersey Shore beach town like this, and there is agreements that can be worked out, but you got to start working on them. I mean, we could say, oh, well, you can't do it, it's going to take 2 years. Let's start asking some questions. Let's start figuring it out. As far as the school letting out, not going to be able to do anything about it. You can't get buses. The county's not going to provide buses because all these kids, it's a magnet school, so they come from all over the place. Now, one thing that we at the rec center, before I was let go, we're in the process of doing, we were going to offer, we have buses here, got 2 buses. We were going to offer service, pick them up somewhere in town, and this would alleviate some of the traffic. And it would also be a revenue stream. You know how much money people would pay so they don't have to sit in that car line that goes around the track over there. It was a great idea. It just never got off the ground. But yeah, you know, I think the other thing is we were at Madeira Cove really quick, and these people were really smart, and they were talking about the light at Madeira Way and Tom Stewart. That's got to be addressed now before these developments go up. So thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Andrews, we're going to go to the next question. We're going to stay somewhat on the same topic and ask about public transportation, because that was not mentioned in the answers for the most part. So what steps would you make to be sure that public transportation is accessible to all the citizens of Madeira Beach, especially those with physical handicaps?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. And, you know, I think our trolley system works very well. And I've watched, you know, there's a stop right outside of my store. And I watch how, you know, special needs people can get on and off the bus with pretty much ease. So, you know, I don't really think that we need more trolley cars or anything like that. When it gets busy, when there's traffic, the buses are slow. That's what it is. You know, and the other thing, you know, that we've totally abandoned is, and I'm not picking on this commission, but we got rid of a ferry service. Okay, we were in business with one of our finest businesses Hubbard's Marina, and they were providing ferry service. It was just starting to take off, and we pulled our funding from it. That could have been, you know, I mean, eventually, with all the cars that are coming in and all the complaining about traffic, well, we're going to have to use something, and we got water, so why don't we use the waterways? Just, you know, I think that's something we really have to readdress. Thank
you. Mr. Pryor, same question.
As far as the ferry goes, anyone who can afford to run a ferry is free to do it. It's a business enterprise. If you can make money doing it, have at it. I mean, nobody's going to keep you from doing that. As far as that goes, listen, the roads here, the highways, the state highway and all, are not going to get wider. They're not going to get any other way. We're not going to have rapid rail in here because we passed that. If you recall, several years ago, we in Florida passed rapid rail, and our government, back in then, they canceled it on us, didn't they? So rapid rail's not it. You can't expand the roads because of eminent domain. I hope you know what eminent domain is. That means we cannot go out there and take private property from people. It's almost against the law in Florida. We can do it in Texas, okay, in places that are wide open. Here you can't take it, so you're going to have to live with what you've got right now. And you won't get rapid rail. You won't get anything else. So we got to just watch our development.
Once again, we're back to the traffic and the problems that we're having with the traffic. As growth continues, the traffic's going to get worse and worse. There's nothing we can do about that. Do we turn one lane of like Gulf Boulevard into just for motor scooters? And, you know, that would be crazy too. So I don't really have a good answer. I see more and more people using bikes, which I think is a great alternative, but we don't encourage it much here in the city. We don't have special things for them for doing that like other cities do. I think we need to look at that and areas that, you know, that we can take that off. Now, for people, I know there's like the free beach taxi, you know, for people so they don't drive. But once again, you're still putting a car on the road, either way you go. So it's a very complex problem that I don't know how we're going to look at it.
Mr. Kochek.
As with every problem, the way that you start is you start going, your representatives who are up here have to start going to county meetings, state meetings. We had a mayor just recently, Mayor Travis Palladino. I ran against him and I lost. But one thing I'll say is that damn guy was everywhere. He was at every meeting. He was on their back. He was getting things done. And that's how you do it. You go to Tallahassee. In 2 years, I haven't heard one report. Is anybody on any committees? Do they go to any county commission meetings? Do they go to any of the meetings anywhere at all? Do they say anything? Because that's how you get these problems solved. You go to where the decision makers are, and you go with a group. We used to go by bus up to Tallahassee, and we go up there, and we'd speak to the representatives and tell them what the issues are. And that's how you get things done. We can sit here and, like everybody has said, what can we really do? We don't have control over these things. We have to go where the control is. That's why you elect someone like me who has the knowledge and the experience and has been down the act already. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Turchik, hold on to that microphone. So we have some recurring questions that are starting to come in from the audience. and just try to, for time's sake, just read one of the multiples instead of going over and over. And this is, if you would please provide some thoughts, or your thoughts specifically, on the Marina audit.
Total waste of money.
I think that the marine audit was very productive. I think that every department in this city needs to be audited. I think that the city employees need to be held accountable for the taxpayers' money. I think as city commissioners, we have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers of this city to make sure their money's being spent properly and controlled properly. So I've asked since I came on 2 years ago to audit every department. I don't care if it's the parking department, if it's the finance department, whatever department it is. I think every one of them need to be audited. And then over a 4-year period, let's say, then at the end of 4 years, you start over again and go back to the marina, let's say. You know, and the second time to do it should go very quickly, that we've already done it once. So I really believe in the audit. Thank you.
In corporate America, I used to be a manager of processes and procedures, and it was very typical that you would bring in a group of people and let them look at how your processes, procedures, and all your finances and everything work, because what you were looking for is help in doing a better job. So an audit is not necessarily something to come spank you with. It's something, it should be to help you. It's a help tool. It's when other people have experience and they can come help you do your job better. So I wouldn't look at it as a negative. I look at an audit in a positive way. So this audit here, although I'm not involved in it because I'm just a resident like many of us are, I see it as just an opportunity for us to learn and to do our jobs better.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I believe audits are invaluable management tools. I do 2 of them a year at my business. Okay. Second, this was not a forensic audit. The only time the word audit is even mentioned in this was when the auditors were telling you it's not an audit. It was an inquiry or an investigation. My opponent sent out this cute little email about a wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't know if you saw it. And it says that the marina lost $550,000, and make no mistake, it's lost and it's your money. Folks, if it's lost, what efforts are being made to find it, okay? If it was stolen, why isn't there a criminal investigation going on, okay? What it alludes to is lost revenue opportunities. I mean, they took a Google Earth photo and found out open boat slips and called that lost revenue. If that's the case, I'm petrified for the rec center. What if there's a Zumba class and there's 10 people in it and the room can fit 20? Is that lost revenue? What if you take a picture of the city center room on a Saturday night and there's no wedding going on? Is that being empty? Is that lost revenue? What about taking a Google Earth photo of parking spots in Johns Pass? And if they're empty, is that lost revenue? I mean, come on. If I'm elected, I'm going to host a town hall here. I'll bring in Dave Marsicano, and you won't get index cards. You can ask him questions directly, okay? And if we're going to burn this guy in effigy, if we're going to burn this guy in effigy, at least you get due process on this. And then we can at least end this once and for all with facts and not innuendos.
Thank you. Hold on to that microphone a moment, Mr. Andrews, and we're going to stay on the same topic. And we're going to ask, well, how would you plan to involve residents more so in the decision-making process?
Well, look, this is your city, guys. I mean, you guys elect us. You guys call us. You talk to us. That's the idea. That's what democracy is all about. I mean, this goes back, all the way to the ancient Greek times, for Christ's sakes. You hired a group of folks. They represented your people, and that's how you got your points across. Now, I mean, back in the day, if you disagreed with somebody, they took you outside and killed you. Or if you really disagreed with enough people, they went to your house and burned it down. So we've evolved from them. But democracy, it's a great thing. It's lasted through generations. It's lasted through dictatorships and rulers and everything else. But we got that here, okay? And our issues, I mean, we're all going in the same direction. We're just taking different roads. We got to bridge this political divide that we got, guys. Whether you elect me or not, that's got to be the first thing on everybody's agenda going forward. We got to stop the crap, please. Thanks.
Mr. Pryor, same question.
First, could you read the question again? I got kind of lost.
I'm happy to do so. So how do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in Madeira Beach?
Well, one of the earliest things I see, or the latest things, is when we do the charter amendments, there is one number, I think it's 11, And what it says is, well, let's reduce the requirements for a group of residents to petition our city. Let's move it down from 25% of the residents to 10. That makes it a lot easier for any group to petition the government. Let's have that. I like that. I like to be able to have a group of people come and actually say, city, we think this and that, and here's some people that support us. So let's do those kind of things. Let's move toward more residents. Now, when I walk the neighborhoods out here, I got earful of residents, what they want and what they would like to have. So it wouldn't hurt every now and then for maybe the commission to walk some of these roads, okay? I know they do. I know they do. But the people come to them. But it's really heart-rending when you really go to their houses and and they can point to exactly what they would like for you to do.
Mr. Dother?
When I became a commissioner 2 years ago, there was only one committee in the city, and that was the Civil Service Commission, and they had not met for 4 years. They did not get together. So we instituted, and I fought to add more committees. So we added the Budget Committee, we added the Charter Committee, we added the Bid Review Committee. You know, I think we need to have the committees, and but the most important part of that is for the residents to step up to be on the committees. You know, they don't have to have my point of view or his point of view or any of our point of view, but we just need the different and the various people of the city to get involved and join the committees. I know a lot of them are only here seasonal, but, you know, they can be on a committee for a point of time. So to me, that's how we get the residents involved. Have the committees and ask people to sign up for them.
To have the involvement of the citizens is very important because we work for you. You elect us, and then we hear what you want to do, and somehow we have to be able to relay that vision to Jonathan and the rest of the staff, and then the professionals are able to make it a reality. I support having the citizen involvement. There's no doubt about it. You all live here, you pay taxes here, your voices have to be heard. But what happens at times is that when you don't get something, you get very angry. You say, why didn't I get it? Well, you have to understand the reasoning why sometimes it's not possible. Not everything is possible. And because sometimes no is said, the main thing that has to happen is why did they say no? Why did the people say no? We don't hear that usually. Committees and all are fine because you have that input and it's some information to be able to make decisions with. And you want to hear what the citizens want to do. We have educated people. We have people that are involved, people that are going to make our community better. So I support having these citizens. The reason why the civil service wasn't active for years was because there was a union with the employees, and that's why the civil service wasn't active for those years.
Good. I'm going to that microphone for a moment, Mr. Kochik. So Mr. Pryor mentioned Amendment 11. So let's talk about Amendment 11 for a moment. That would allow only 335 voters to repeal an ordinance, or at least petition a repeal of an ordinance, which would be roughly 10% of the 3,300 registered Madeira Beach voters. So are you in favor, I'm giving a long question for a short answer, are you in favor of Charter Amendment 11?
I would vote no on all the charter amendments because at this time, my feeling is that these charter amendments are not about making this city a better place. It's for taking power away from the professionals and giving more power to the committee. I feel that there are people in this community that one day want this to be a strong mayor type of government, and that's a very bad thing to have. There's a lot of power that's being usurped from the city manager and the professionals and being given over here. And there's a small group of people in this city who for many years have wanted that. Vote no on the amendments, and we'll come back to those city charters. For 50 years, it was in place well. And now some of those charter amendments are really just to manipulate the commission and manipulate the city manager and the staff. I would think very hard about it. Vote no, and we'll come back to it. We'll look at it again, talk about it again. Thank you.
Third. So we were talking about, Mr. Pryor brought up the Amendment 11, which is the city charter that would require only 10% as opposed to 25% of the registered voters to repeal an ordinance or a proposal of an ordinance. Are you for Amendment 11?
I think the 10% is a good number. And the reason I do, I was involved when the last one went around, and we collected over 1,000 signatures. and we got bounced out because of a technicality for whatever reason. I think this is the way that the residents can, speak. If they don't like something, they get enough people together, if they have enough people that agree with them, and they get it together, and bring a referendum to the voters that they like something or they don't like something. Something might be voted on that I don't like, or that could be something that I like. But sitting up here, my job is to do what the majority of the residents want. Not what a few want, but what the majority want. So I think, if you get 10%, it goes out to the voters, and the voters say 50% of the voters say, yes, we want this. Then, if I like it or don't like it, that's beside the point. We've got to live with it from that point on. And I think that's very, very important.
Thank you. Mr. Pryor?
My current understanding is we have 11 amendments, and number 11 is about the 10 versus 25. But my understanding is it's the number required to petition the government, not to change even another amendment. So the petition is something that the city must look at to address an issue. It doesn't necessarily change an issue just because you petition. So you bring it forward. Right now, we have basically, if you look at the amendments, who put the 11 on the ballot? Who put them there? Do you know? Was it just the commission? Was it the committee? Who put them on there? If you don't know, you need to volunteer and get involved in this thing like I did last year when I joined the budget committee, because that's where I got a lot of my knowledge. I joined last year, and I'm on a committee, and I learned so much about this city. Without that, I couldn't even sit up here and tell you anything. So, yes, I think it's good that we have amendment number 11.
Thank you. Mr. Andrews?
I agree with Steve. I think I'm just an amendment overload. The United States Constitution has 27 amendments, okay? And it was ratified in 1788 by a bunch of farmers, right? We have had, in the last 4 months, can you please not talk? Thank you. We've had 25 changes to our charter proposed to the citizens of Madeira Beach in the last 4 months alone. Bottom line, our charter works just fine. Steve's correct. For 50 years, it's worked perfectly, and it'll continue to work perfectly. If we need to make minor changes, that's great. But 25 amendments in 4 months, even the voters, I mean, you can't even read these things. They're written so poorly, you can't even understand them. I would just tell you, for the time being, just vote no. If we have anything mission critical, we can change it then. Thanks.
Okay, we have believe it or not, we're moving very, very quickly through these questions, and we have only time for a few more. There's some recurring questions here, so we'll try to get to those. So, Mr. Andrews, this is for you, and this one speaks to events. And the question is, how do you plan on supporting events and bringing more to Madeira Beach?
Well, I mean, this is a softball. This is right up my alley. I served as the Parks, Rec, and Special Events Director here in Madeira Beach for 2014, from 2014 to 2017. We bought a lot of things here. I mean, we bought the Rotary Carnival here in the time I was here. We bought this, and you'll see it this weekend again, the third week of a Division I girls NCAA tournament that the St. Pete Clearwater Visit St. Pete Clearwater pays us to hold. We bought a lot of events, but you know, the DNA of our community, we've got the Seafood Festival, we've got the Old Salts fishing tournaments, we've got the Veterans Boat Parade, and we've got commissioners up here that are voting no to these things. The John's Pass Seafood Festival has an agreement already to go across the bridge to go over to Treasure Island. Hopefully we can save that. But the bottom line is, you know, our commissioners are not working with these people that are holding events. Why are you making an event turn in a profit and loss sheet? Don't we want them to make money so that they come here? And we don't really, you know, it shouldn't really be about us making money on events. It should be the economic impact that it provides for our businesses. If we make money along the way too, that's a good thing. But yeah, I could talk forever on that. Sorry.
Thank you. Mr. Pryor?
I go back to what I say originally. I'm like a business person. I run a business. I just want my business to make money. The city is not in the business of running other people's businesses. If you want to come here just like the ferry or just like the seafood festival or the Old Salt tournament, that's fine that you come here and the businesses do well when they're here and the businesses make money. But what does it do for the residents? Now, if they can come here and do that and pay their way, there's certainly not a problem. We give them a permit, they come, everything's good, they make money, and they leave. But the residents and the voters here we shouldn't be footing that bill. We can go and support them and pay, buy their grouper sandwiches or whatever. But we shouldn't, through our taxes or whatever we pay, support these private enterprises just because we want them to come and build up our business base.
In regards to events coming here, I am in favor of events coming here. But as Mr. Pryor said, I'm not in favor of it on the back of the taxpayers, the local people. And a lot of the events, they've said, well, we want this for free or we want that for free. Why should Joe Smith out there, who doesn't attend that event, why should he be on his back? And because he's a resident, where's the fine line on this? I think I'd love to have lots of events. I think we need to have more events here, but I think we need to do it not at the cost of the taxpayers.
Mr. Kochek.
We have a lot of young families coming in. We have a lot of young people coming in. We're a community. And with the community, you have different events. You have different things that make a community. You have a lot of naysayers in this community. For years, they've been saying no. They don't want anything. They don't think anything should be done here. We're in a beautiful area that's gifted. I'd love to hear, I actually heard commissioners, not on this board now, in the past commission, say that they couldn't stand all the racket of the kids laughing over when they were playing ball over here. Is this really what we want as a community? Is this really what we want? We have a beautiful area. We should support these things. And should the taxpayers pay for it? No. But should we try to get so much out of these people that are trying to put on these events that they go somewhere else? I think the balance has to be there. And I think we can find that balance when we work together and we speak truthfully to each other. The main thing that kills Madeira Beach is the lies that go around this city. I've actually brought people to have something explained, have those people walk out and turn to me and say, that person lied to me.
Okay, we have time for one final question before we get into our 3-minute closing statement. And this will be for you, Mr. Kochek. And that would be, what do you think is going right now in the city?
The weather is beautiful. There's a lot of tourists down here, but unfortunately this board has really failed us. I stayed away from here. After a while, I said, let me just go back, and I'm not going to be involved. I watched it on television and all, and what I see is just nothing being done really for the city. All these little things that committees and this and that, but roads weren't being done, the infrastructure wasn't being done. There was nothing positive really going out. People weren't going to meetings. They weren't talking to the state. Nothing was getting done. And if this is what you want nothing done, that you have to come and demand your roads to be done, when meanwhile 2 years ago they were already listed to be done. And those roads are going to cost us $3 million more now. That was stated last night, because each year it went up 15% because of the inactivity and the people who didn't know what to do. The people who are controlling this board aren't sitting on the board. They're sitting here in the audience.
Mr. Dother, let me repeat the question. What do you think is going on right now well in the city?
I think the city, we're finally seeing transparency. I think that the city manager has worked very hard. I think his staff has worked very hard to bring transparency to the city. He's doing it through his newsletters. We're getting to a point, and I know the city's not there yet, but like if the city manager or a city employee goes out and uses a city credit card, you're going to be able to see it online. I don't care if they're spending 5 cents or $500. You're going to be able to see where your tax money is going to. And I think that is very, very important. And that was one of the main things that I ran on the first time. We need to have that transparency. I feel in the past we did not have the transparency. We did not know where our money was being spent. And that's one of the reasons I felt very strongly about the audit, is we need to see where we're spending all the money at.
Thank you. Mr. Pryor, what do you feel is going well right now in the city?
Well, I know firsthand that the board, as we have it today, listens to even people like me when I sit on the budget committee, because some of them come in, we sit and we talk and we discuss things. We don't always disagree. And we tell them why. We tell them we want to do this and that, and they listen. Okay, I can't tell you about the previous boards or any of that because I'm not a part of any of that. So the whole thing is, when I go and I look on my email, I get a letter from the city manager. Just today, I got a notice that there's a construction down here on 140th where a sewer pipe or something has broken. We're really getting better communication around the city, and I think it's because of what I see now with the current board.
Thank you. Mr. Andrews?
Wow, transparency, huh? Wow. Anyway, these committees, I got to be honest. I mean, they're all friends of John's and friends of Oakley and friends of. That's what these committees are all made up of. There's no mix. There's no change of ideas. It's all just basically being thrown down by the board. For a year and 11 months during this tenure, nobody spoke about roads. Nobody spoke about underground and utilities. Now, a month before an election, I put something on a piece of paper about Crystal Island, and all of a sudden, hell breaks loose, and now everything's getting done. I think that's great. If I lived in Crystal Island, I wouldn't care how it gets done. But I think it's just the lack of transparency has just been crazy. But I mean, you know, they do have a mission statement up there. I mean, that's kind of good, and that civility clause, I think that's really good. All right, so that's what I like.
Well, before we allow the gentlemen to give their closing statements, I would just like to thank all of you for coming out and behaving as well as everybody did, better than expected. I'd like to thank the Sheriff's Department and our two deputies in the back for being on their toes as they were all evening. Let's give them a hand. I would like to thank Laurie Tyner, our timekeeper. Let's give her a hand. It's not an easy job. Missy Hahn, the president of the Chamber of Commerce, who put this program together. And of course, the city of Madeira Beach and the city staff and our city administrator, Mr. Evans. And of course, our candidates. It's not easy to put yourself out there, gentlemen. We appreciate it. And if nothing else rings true to me personally, is there's a lot more that we agree on than we disagree on. So I thank you all for your candor. And with that, Mr. Andrews, we're going to ask you to start and give us 3 minutes closing statement.
Okay, Barry, thank you very much, and thank you all for coming out on a rainy evening. Folks, Roger and I shook hands before this all started and promised each other that despite what happens in the other district race, District 3 would be one that was integrity and no mudslinging. Well, since that time, I've been called a liar. I've been called a wolf in sheep's clothing, ignorant, and even been accused of taking 2 young women to Las Vegas on the city dime to the tune for 11 grand. I was also told that if I ran my business like I ran the rec center, I'd be bankrupt. And one of my opponent's newspaper ads said that I was suing the city. That's a claim, even by Roger's own admission, is completely fabricated, and he was misinformed about. Okay? One of the last lines of their ad said, "Vote for the truth." It's pretty ironic. Okay? Honestly, I don't care, except for the fact that you really can't unring the bell on that sort of thing. And I'm kind of waiting for them to start showing me pictures of my daughter at a fraternity party in Gainesville. Socrates was correct. When the debate is lost, slander is the tool of the loser. People are, you know, it's getting harder and harder to find good people to run for public office anymore because of all this stuff. So we got to get rid of it. We got to get it over with. And, you know, but I've spoken to you guys ad nauseum. People said I didn't talk about what I wanted to do for the city, about transparency, about city infrastructure, about these excessive charter amendments that are being thrown down our throat, big government spending, protecting our employees, greener options, and primarily ending the political discord that is ravishing the city. Throughout all this, it's been quite a learning experience. I'm not angry, I'm not bitter, and I obviously hold no ill will towards Roger. I think he's a great man. I will continue to honor my promise to him for the next 2 weeks, and I do wish you the best of luck in the March 12th. But I can sleep at night knowing that regardless of the outcome, I never once said or did anything that would embarrass Roger in front of his family and friends. And frankly, if I did, it would be pretty darn hypocritical of me to do that if my true goal is to bridge the political discord. Folks, on Election Day, we've actually made this really easy on you. If you have no problem with the cronyism and the collusion and the agenda politics that I proved to you earlier that this current commission is deploying, then you should place your vote for Roger. But if you think that we need to shake things up a little bit, okay, get some new, younger voices on the panel and start to consider the needs of everyone, from the young families to the businesses, as well as our longtime residents, I'm your guy, and I would be humbled by your vote on March the 12th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. Mr. Pryor, 3 minutes, please.
Okay. You know, I deal earlier in corporate America in things like legal briefs, and I get words like lawsuit, and I get things like a precursor to a lawsuit. I get things like a claim or a letter, in this case, a demand letter that was sent. And I'm not going against Doug. I'm trying to give you an understanding. A demand letter, if it's legal from an attorney, which it was, from Doug's attorney to the city, said if we don't do certain things, we're going to sue the city. So in a court of law, that would be part of the lawsuit, is that initial demand letter. That's part of a lawsuit. So I was kind of confused, okay? I know there's lawyers that will shake your head, but it is part of some laws in some states. So I apologize for that. Now, when I walk the city out here, I'm going to try to tell you who I am, okay? I walked up here on Bayshore Boulevard, and there's a guy named Chris in the yard. I went up and asked him for a opportunity to talk to him, and he says, "What's the bed tax rate in the city?" And I says, "Well, it's 6%. He says, "You don't know what the hell you're talking about, and you have no business running for office if you don't know a simple answer to this question." So I talked to him a little bit more, and then my wife and I were there. So I went home. I pulled up Pinellas County, and I made a copy of the Pinellas County taxing for beds in, hotels and things. And I took it back to him, and I said, "Look, Chris, the bed tax rate is 6%. The tax is 13% because they add 7%. He says, "Well, I have to apologize. I had 4 beers, and I got kind of carried away out there." I says, "Well, okay, that's fine. We shake hands and we're good. But let me tell you who I am. If you bring me something and we have a controversy, I'm still going to be your friend in the city, okay? I'll do my very best to go find out the finite details or whatever it is you want to know, and I'll bring it to you, and we'll have a discussion. I won't forget it. I won't walk away. I'm not afraid of you. I'm one of your friends down the street." Okay, so that's the way it has to be here. We've got to deal with each other in some kind of honesty and follow up. And when you're a commissioner and people want assistance or tell you something, you got to follow up with them. I will do that. I'll drive you crazy doing it, okay? Because we're going to come to an accord. I don't sleep good if we are saying things to each other that we really disagree on. If there's facts, let's present facts, okay? So that's what I ask you for. I'm a numbers guy. I'm what's called a technocrat. So I'm a business person. I expect the city to run like a business.
Thank you, Mr. Pryor.
We've been asked a lot of questions this evening. We talked about tourism and traffic and infrastructure and all that. I would just like to throw out a few things real quick. First off, to increase hurricane preparedness, we asked the public, the residents, to register with the city website for the Receive Emergency Preparedness. We need to do that. Second, and I think the most important thing is, the previous governor, has signed in an executive order putting HB 631 with limits to beach access. It's put on abeyance right now, but if that ever passes, that means you go out to these condos that are on the beach, you can't use their beach. So it doesn't matter if we have tourists here. If they can't go to the beach, they're not going to come. That's the bottom line. So these are the things that we should be working on as a city and with the other beach communities, and which we have started to do. That's the important things. Mr. Kochak has said a couple times that I need to stay in my district. I would like to just to say to him, I'm elected by the whole city. So it doesn't matter if they're in District 1, 2, 3, or 4. If someone comes to me and asks me to help them in any way, and it's been more than just the people at Crystal Isle for other things, I'm going to do it because I am elected by the entire city, not just by one little piece of it, District 4. These other things, we're going to need to work on. We're going to need to work on the infrastructure. We're going to need to work on the traffic. And I think some very good ideas came out here tonight. But it all comes down to the tourists coming here, and if we don't have the beaches for them to go to, they're not going to come. So I think HB 631 is a very, very important part of what we need to be doing, working with the other beach communities. It's just not beach communities. From what I understand, is if you live on a lake, it works for you too there. So if you have a house on a lake, And you can stop people, if this passes, from using that property between you and the high water line. And it's the same here for the high water line. You would not be able to go into these condominiums and go past the high water line. You have to stay out by the water. So I think that's where we need to start. Thank you.
Mr. Kochek, 3 minutes, please.
I'd like to thank everybody for showing up tonight. People at home, I'd like to thank you for watching. And especially the first people I want to thank is our city employees, Jonathan and Mr. Pierce and everybody else. I want to thank you for what you do for the city. It's incredibly difficult to do all that you do when twice a week they're holding meetings. Do you know how much time it takes for staff to put together all the material for your meetings, for your constant meetings? You have to have meetings to discuss things, but they should be organized, and you should be doing a lot of the homework on your own to where those meetings move through quickly and all. Not everything has to be discussed so thoroughly and all to where you should have some understanding of what's going on before you even step into the office. Tonight we spoke about a lot of things. You got to see us a little more. You got to understand us a little more. The reason why I gave such a short answer on the audit for the marina is that we get audited every year because state law says we must be audited. And that's what that CAFIR is. That's the audit. They come in and they look through everything, all the books, everything, and then that goes to the state and they review it. So every year we do get audited, and that's by a private firm that we have nothing to do with. And we can only have that firm for 3 years, and then we have to get another one so that there's nothing illegal is going to be even perceived. There are a lot of things that when you know them, you don't have to take time. You can get things accomplished. Like I said, when I was in office before, we got a lot of things accomplished. Luckily, there were people on the board with me who knew what was going on, and they were able to make decisions because when they came to the meetings, they were prepared and they got going. That's why I'm looking to run again. I want to just get things going. I can work with either side. I know these people on the left. I know some of them hate my guts. Why? I don't know. I don't know who they are. We've never spoken once, but for some reason, they hate me. Maybe because I tell the truth. Maybe because I get things accomplished. I don't know. I wish one day maybe they will tell me before I die. I'm really happy to be a resident of Madeira Beach. I'm happy because my family's been here for 30 years. It is paradise. I have people come down and they say, Steve, this is spectacular. This is so beautiful. You can just see them calm down. You can just see them relaxed. We are so fortunate. All I want to do is make that vision come true, but tell me what your vision is. What do you want? And we can make that vision come true. That's all that I ask, because we are the community. It's not I as a commissioner. It's we as a community. And if we work together, we can overcome these petty differences. Some people are always going to be angry. Some people are always going to be happy. You're the one who chooses which side you want to be on. Thank you very much for coming tonight. Vote March 12th.
Thank you.
For me.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. And don't forget to vote on March 12th.